What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to another video, and this one's going to be pretty sappy, I would say, mainly because this is a video I've been wanting to make for a little bit of time, and some other stuff came up recently that kind of added to the emotional kind of kick in the head factor of the video, not in a bad way necessarily, but just giving you guys kind of the origin story and where the Roast Tires name came from. So, for those you who don't know, I've rebranded this channel twice. It was originally called Adamson 1, which was my second channel for Pokemon stuff and life stuff, typically, is going to be based on. Now, I know you're probably thinking, then why are you putting the Florida trip on this channel? It's because I'm used to it. I want you guys to see it's probably got a lot of car-involved stuff down there, because I'll be trying to find car meets and stuff, be car spotting, stuff like that while I'm down there. But anyway, on to the topic of this video. The channel was originally Adamson 1. I rebranded it because for a while I thought I was getting made fun of because of the name and stuff like that, so I changed it to Gearhead Gamer. Turns out there was already a Gearhead Gamer, and he'd probably had the name longer than I had. So I was just like, you know, I'm going to change it again, just to something unique, so no one gets me confused with everybody, because I had several people, my friends, who were like, yeah, I can't find your channel. So I changed it to Roast Tires. And the reason I've kept the name, despite the fact reintroducing the Adamson 1 name onto a different channel, because I actually did, for a slight minute, debate rebranding this one back to Adamson 1 and bringing back that original name. But, of course, I was like, I've already rebranded this channel enough, I don't want to do it a fourth time, or a third or fourth time, something like that. And so I made it the second channel. The thing is, though, is some new stuff that surfaced recently my mom told me about that made me decide to keep the Roast Tires name. So, for those of you who don't know, I had a grandmother pass away back in February from metastatic, I believe is what it's called, breast cancer. So that's why when people mention cancer around me, I get kind of sobby and I get kind of upset. It's just the fact that it's fresh. She was a woman I was very close with. Probably one of the more influential people in my life. You know, when I wasn't with my mom or my dad, I was typically one of my sets of grandparents, and when my dad's parents moved to West Virginia in 2012, I want to say. Or maybe even later than that, I think 2014, actually. It was hard because I only had one set of grandparents to hang out with, and that was my mom's parents, my grandmother and my step-grandfather, who I refer to my real grandfather for personal reasons. Those who know me know why, because I've mentioned it probably a million times. And she passed away in February. Like I said, you guys probably saw the multitude of videos I made about it, because the first time where I was just like, just keep me in your thoughts, it's gonna be hard. And then when she eventually did pass, I put a comment on the final update of my grandmother video, and I literally wrote that about 15 minutes after I had heard that she had passed. I was sitting in the hospital, and I literally could not go and see her after she had passed, because it would have scarred me mentally. I would only remember that face of her lifeless in a bed, and it would have scarred me mentally. And it's basically part of the reason I've developed some severe anxiety lately about the concept of death. Now, I'm not going to go too much into that because that's not the topic of this video. It's more to deal with my grandmother. I'm trying to fight that anxiety off, by the way, so don't mention it, please. But let's go into depth on what my grandmother has to do with this. So a while back, my younger cousin Alana, who's maybe 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years old, I don't keep track of her birthday because they were Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't celebrate birthdays, in case you don't know. That's part of what Jehovah's Witnesses do. And so I don't know exactly how old my baby cousin Alana is. I know how old my cousin Makai, her older brother, is, because he was born the same year as my little sister Layla. So with that out of the way, she wanted to start a YouTube channel with one of her friends. It was going to be the Alana and I can't remember what her friend's name was show. And when they do start it, if they ever ask me or anything, I'll link it in the description for you guys to go watch. It's going to be mostly fashion stuff. She told me, my cousin had told me that I probably wouldn't be interested in it, but I'd still, you know, go and like the videos and stuff. Probably be supportive. It's my family, for crying out loud. So yeah, there's that. But my grandmother and my mother were talking about YouTube, and we're talking about how I had such a passion for it or something like that. And my grandmother asked my mom for the name, and my mom told her it was Roast Tires. And my grandmother got the biggest kick out of that, not because she thought it was a stupid name, but because she loved the little wordplay in it. For those of you who don't know what roasting a tire is when you're doing a burnout and you're causing smoke. It's what I've always called roasting the tire. I would say smoke the tire, but then people would come off and say I'm probably a druggie of some sort and I'm on that good stuff. Or I'm copying The Smoking Tire, which is another automotive channel. which is why I picked Roast Tires. And I made it I spelt it the way I did, which is another thing she really liked apparently, was the way I had it set up with a capital R, the capital A, the capital T, and the capital R in the name. She really got a kick out of all that. And that's part of the reason why when the idea came up to bring back the J. Adamson 1 name, why I picked to do it on a separate channel to do strictly Pokemon stuff. There was 2 reasons for that. That's one of them, is that I feel like it'd be a disservice to my grandmother to change the name back, because she loved, that was the name she knew me by on YouTube, was Roast Tires, and I feel like it'd be just a big disservice to her to change the name back on this channel. Another reason for that would be because I've rebranded this channel enough. No, I'm not doing it again. It's a pain in the neck to rebrand the channel because you have to go change your Twitter name, your Facebook pages, and all that stuff. And I pretty much set this name in stone, because if you guys haven't noticed, my YouTube channel, the URL has changed. It is now Roast Tires 1040 in the URL bar. So that's mainly the reason why I never changed the name back on this channel. When I brought J. Adamson 1 back, I put it on a second channel because I just did not want to deal with rebranding this channel, and I feel like it'd just be horrible to do after the way my grandmother loved the name I picked for this channel. I know a lot of you guys are thinking it's just a name, but when it holds kind of symbolic value like that, it's hard. It really is hard to think about changing that. And that's part of the reason I'm bringing the Florida trip vlogs to this channel. It'll be the first family road trip we'll have taken without her, because the Florida trip every year was kind of a tradition for both our family and my mom's side, my cousins Alana Mackay, my step granddad, my uncles and aunt, my uncle and aunt on that side, and my grandparents. And this will be the first road trip without her, and it's gonna be hard for me, which is probably the good reason that if Michael does go, I'll be riding with him down, as I won't be thinking about it as much, because I'll have him in the car, you know, making me laugh for whatever reason, being stupid like he usually likes to be when he's driving. No offense, Michael. And it's gonna take my mind off of it. But I know the instant we cross the state border into Florida and get to the beach and stuff, and you know, walk around and see all my family and realize she's not there, it's gonna be hard. You know, my step grandfather has taken it extremely hard. You know, he's been married to the woman for over 30 years, and sorry, I choked up a little bit right there. I mean, he's still taking it really hard. You know, he literally worked himself to nearly death a couple weeks ago. He was hospitalized with issues in his lungs. He was not able to breathe for a while, and I didn't mention that on the channel because I didn't think it'd be anything serious. This has happened before, and he always finds a way to fight it off. And yeah, that happened. He is partially the reason I was able to buy my G920. He gave me around $200 for graduation gifts, because he knew my grandmother would have done the same had she been alive. And that was one of my last wishes for her, is I knew it was going to happen. It was inevitable that this cancer was going to take her down as soon as she got diagnosed a second time. And my mom told me it was incurable at this point. And I told myself my one wish for her would be to make it to where I graduated high school. And, you know, sadly, it didn't end that way for me. Yeah, crap. But yeah, that happened. And, you know, it's just a sad story to talk about. I don't like talking about it on camera, but for this very reason right now, how I'm getting teary-eyed and crap, and I'm choking up every other word. But I just wanted to thank you guys again for the support following that. Bullet Train in particular, my really good friend of mine on YouTube, the guys know. I've only done one video with him on my channel, but I've done several videos with him on his channel. I'll link you guys to the description as long as I remember, because I don't have the greatest memory in the world. I always will edit these, and then I'll forget I said that in the video, and then I'll upload it, and then completely forget it was said at all until I watch it back. I'm like, ooh, I should have done that. Then usually I'll go and do it. There's rare occasions where I'll get it on the first try. But he's been a real help with me ever since the diagnosis, really. He first contacted me then. He's been really good friends with me. He checks on me all the time. You know, I talk to him as much as I can. And he was one of the first people I messaged when she passed, because he'd messaged me, I believe, that day, and was like, hey, how's it going, and all that stuff, just making sure I was all right. And you know, I was like, you know, she's gone. And you could hear it. You could, like, the immediate next message was, send your prayers and condolences to my family, and was just super respectful about it. When I told Michael about it, Michael had a pretty sappy moment himself. He was sitting in my literature class with one of my favorite teachers I've had throughout high school. Her name was Miss Morgan. She was just the best thing ever to treat, like, when it comes to teachers treating the kids. And she always treated me and Michael, because that's how me and Michael got back into making videos together this past school year, is we hadn't spoken to each other in about 3 years, because we had that ironically enough, we had her classes together in ninth grade, and we were goofballs back then. I was the good one out of the group. We had a group of 4. There was the 2 Michaels, we called them Eminem, as I like to say. One was Kendall's son, obviously. It was another Michael as well. One of our friends whose name was Nathan, who doesn't speak to any of us anymore. There's a reason behind that why. Like, he doesn't talk to me very much. That's something that's personal. I'm not going to go into depth to that because it was bad. Yeah, me and Michael had classes together in ninth grade. We didn't talk very much. Then senior year comes around, we get her class together again. Me and Michael reunited. We start talking again, and this is where we are today. We're really good friends. We're probably even best friends, I would say. But yeah, back to the story. Miss Morgan had known about this. All of my teachers had known about this, that it was coming, and that I'd probably miss a couple of days, and that I was like, if I miss a couple of days, this is why, and if I'm an emotional wreck at school, this is the main part of it. And they were all super understanding. And when she did finally pass, I emailed Miss Morgan probably first, and Michael had shown her the message I sent him, because I sent him the message that she had passed. I remember like it was yesterday, the day it happened. My dad texted me. He's like, all right, I'm checking you out. Someone's going down. This is not good. I'm like, oh, no. And all my friends are, pat me in the back as I start getting teary-eyed and stuff as I'm walking out the door. And, of course, Ethan, one of my other good friends, you guys know him as Captain Nick 69 Gaming and here on YouTube, was just making sure everyone was making sure I was good. As I left, I hurried home. I kid you not, that was the fastest I've ever drove over the speed limit. I at least had to be going 25 to 30 miles an hour over the speed limit the entire way home. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit. I get home, and I get out of the truck. I'm like, where's my dad at? He's sitting in his car with it already running. We get in the car, and it's not literally about 5 minutes later, we get the text sheet passed. And it was heartbreaking, because you could see it in my dad's face. My dad in particular. My dad's not the most emotional man in the world. In fact, when his grandfather died a couple years ago, he literally showed no emotion until he put his sunglasses on. And that's the first thing you'll notice with him. He puts his sunglasses on, it's over. He's probably crying underneath that. And he held a really good relationship with my grandmother, my dad. It's ironic because my grandparents used to hate the partner of their kids. My grandmother and my mom's side used to hate my dad, and my grandmother and my dad's side used to hate my mom. And now they love each other. They're the best things that could have ever happened to each other. And it was sad. Plus, my grandparents on my dad's side had just moved back to West Virginia, so it was literally the next day they took us out and just had our own little day with them, and it was rough. They could see it in our eyes, me and my siblings, because we all have our rough times now, even several months after. I still have days where I go through really sharp depression spikes because of it. My sister has really bad days. My brother has really bad days. My mom has a bad day every day about it. It still hasn't gotten off my mom's mind that it happened. And, it's a sad story. But yeah, like I said, I texted Michael first. I was like, hey, she's gone. And the reason I texted him first was because he was in the class that I was supposed to be in at the time, which was my second period in lit class. And he'd seen me already. He was freaking out that I wasn't there, and he assumed as much that this was happening. And he shows my lit teacher, and you could see, he said you could literally see just the change of emotion on her face, because she knew how I felt. She knew that I was in a lot of emotional pain about it, and that I knew it was going to happen, because the first email I had sent out to all my teachers telling them what was going on was that she had days to live. And if you remember in the final update on my grandmother video, that's when I said all of that in the video. Of course, I didn't say that to my camera specifically because I was just heartbroken about it. But literally, it was less than they said. The doctors literally said she had about a week or 2 to live, and it was 2 days, I think, was the final count. But yeah, I'm going to try to get off this story because it's just going to haunt me the rest of my night now. I really shouldn't have gone that in depth, but yeah, that's why I kept the Roast Tires name. I feel like it would just be a disservice to her to change it. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Average gang and we climbing the ladder. Got a couple people fucking with me from Alaska, and the crowd get